4,000 years ago, Moses walked through the desert. He had a whole bunch of Hebrews with them who all gave birth, who all lived in the desert and died in the desert. For 40 years they walked through the desert. How come women back then could do it, but women today cannot? Not a single woman could do that. Not one. So, where's your evolution there? Let's talk about the equality between men and women, shall we? Because men love to act as if women are weak, and at the same time say they're equal to men. How can men support women, take care of the family, do everything a man needs to do, and then call a woman an equal? How can women claim that they're equal to men when men have double the body strength, double the size, and more intelligence? How can women call themselves equal when they live in emotion and men live in rationality? How can women consider themselves equal to men when women can go out and get a restraining order just like that, and a man, no matter what, cannot even get one? How are men and women equal when a woman can get an abortion against the man's will and it just happens? Explain this to me. If men and women are equal, why could women get an abortion against the man's will who wants to have the kid and has no say in the matter? If men and women were equal, why do women need alimony from men? Why do women need child support from men if they're so equal? Tell me. If women were equal to men, why have they spent 60 years trying to be equal to men? If women were equal to men, where does all this man-hatred come from? They would have to hate themselves just as much as they hate men then, because they are equal. If men were equal to women, and women were equal to men, women would share the wealth. But they never share the wealth, they take and take and take. If men and women are equal, how come the police, whenever there's a domestic dispute going on, always tell the man to leave and never the woman? If men and women are equal, how come women always get custody, like 90% of the time? If men and women are equal, how come women ask for divorce 84% of the time? That means 84 out of 100 divorces are applied for by the woman. If men and women were equal, how come men give women double standards? If men and women were equal, how come men have problems taking authority from women? If men and women were equal, how come women wear dresses and men wear suits? Women wear their types of clothing, men wear the types of clothing. How come men don't put makeup on their face? If you're equal, you're equal. How come when a man and woman gets married, since they're so equal, the man is always the provider and the woman is the caregiver? Why are those rules separately? Why are those rules separate, folks? If men and women were equal, how come women have to play less and earn the same amount of money in the professional tennis games as men do? Men have to play a lot more sets than women do, yet they get the same amount of money. How come, if men and women are equal, are there separate competitions? You don't see women competing against men, and you don't see men competing against women in the Olympics, now do you? You see the women's races and the men's races. If men and women were so equal, how come it's always women and children first? If men and women were so equal, why do courts favor women? If men and women were so equal, how come women always end up with the kids and men have to end up fighting for their rights? If men and women were so equal, how come a woman can just state something and a man has to prove he didn't do it? A woman makes a claim, a man has to prove his innocence. Why isn't it just 50-50? She has her say, he has him say. And then the police sort out who's lying. That's not how it happens nowadays, folks. It's women makes a false accusation and the man has to prove his innocence while the police are trying to catch him on something. If men and women were so equal, why do men always end up single and alone while his wife is with a new man with his kids in his house? If men and women were so equal, how come there's MRAs? If men and women were equal, how come there's MGTOW? If men and women were so equal, why do men stand up for women in bars and never stand up for a man in a bar? If men and women were so equal, how come when a man and woman is fighting on the street, some dumbass mangina will come up and go, "Excuse me, ma'am, is everything okay here?" Why isn't it, "Excuse me, sir, is your lady out of control? Do you need some assistance controlling your woman?" Why don't you ever see that? You always hear a man come up and go, "Excuse me, ma'am, is everything all right here?" And then he'll try to shoo off the guy and act like a little white knight faggot, mangina, this little happy horseshit little faggot. Like, "I'm doing a great deed. I'm protecting a woman." So if men and women were so equal, how come men always have this feeling that they have to protect women? Wouldn't that already indicate that men believe that women are weaker than men? Think about that. If when you go out with your girlfriend and you have a fight on the street, a man will approach your woman and go, "Is everything okay here?" Why would he do that? Unless he already knows the woman is weaker than the male. But how could she be weaker when you're all saying she's equal? America, you have gone completely insane.